To describe my relationship with the Cincinnati Reds as contentious would be an understatement. In my defense, it's not my fault they've had an abysmal century. It's not my fault they're one of the worst franchises in all of baseball. No, it's true. They really are.
You can hate on us all you want.
Since the year 2000 and going right up into the start of 2023, the Cincinnati Reds have won 1,671 games, and they've lost 1,893 games. That's a winning percentage of 46.8%. That earns a spot right at the bottom, next to the hapless A's and the worthless O's. I mean, for Christ's sake, even the Royals managed to piece together a deep playoff run and a World Series victory. Not to say that certain Reds players didn't help that. We've even had to sit back and watch the Indians make a World Series run, not to mention the Chicago Cubs and their victory. When you take a step back and look at the big picture, this team is really bad. So imagine my shock when I got an email a few weeks back from the Reds promoting the 20th anniversary celebration of Great American Ballpark. Yep, it's been 20 years since the team said goodbye to Riverfront, a place where champions played and banners were hung, and said hello to a modern, family-friendly ballpark with more food options, more playgrounds, and zero banners. So this 20-year celebration got me thinking, have there been 20 meaningful games played at Great American Ballpark? I'm not asking about moments. Apologies to Todd Frazier, Jay Bruce, and anybody else I may be forgetting. I'm talking about meaningful games. How do I define a meaningful game? Good question. They must meet at least one of the following criteria. It must be a playoff game, a game with playoff implications, an all-star game, or something truly historic. This criteria immediately removes from consideration any opening day. Opening days are huge in Cincinnati. They couldn't be any bigger. But opening days are big because of the fans and because of the history and the pomp and circumstance around the game. The game itself is not important. It's not meaningful. This also removes from consideration any big games where an iconic player comes in with a visiting team. An example would be Bonds and the Pirates, or that one time Clemens and Pettit pitched back-to-back for the Astros in '05. None of those games mattered. The players did, and they were visiting players at that. So let's answer the question. Are there 20 meaningful games in the history of Great American Ballpark? Let's just start counting. Meaningful game number 1. The Phillies playoff game in 2010. That was game 3. They were swept. No more playoff games that year. Meaningful games number 2, 3, and 4 against the Giants in 2012. The Reds didn't have any home playoff games in 2013 or in 2020, which I do not count. So that's the end of our playoff count. In the entire history of Great American Ballpark, there have been 4 playoff games played here. Meaningful game number 5, 2015, the All-Star game. Meaningful games number 6 and 7, September 21st and September 22nd of 2012. The Reds clinch a playoff spot on the road in Chicago on September 20th. They return home to play the Dodgers on the 21st and the 22nd. They win on the 22nd, clinching the division. This locks them into their playoff position, leaving the 4 remaining regular season home games unconsequential, if not fun. This is Bruce's walk-off to clinch the playoff spot. Once again, this was game 1 of a homestand, ruling out the previous 9 games all on the road. Since this win also clinches the division, their spot is locked in, leaving the rest of the regular season and that homestand pretty unconsequential. The next meaningful game is the loss to the Phillies in the wild card round on October 10th, which we already covered. Meaningful game number 9, September 23rd, 2013. The Reds clinch a wild card spot against the Mets on September 23rd. They ultimately finish 4 back of the Pirates and 7 back of the Cardinals. This is the first game of a homestand, so all the games of the previous week are ineligible. In the 2013 regular season, there is 1 meaningful home game played. This is number 9. So we've gone through every single playoff game and every single home game with playoff implications in Great American Ballpark history. And right now, we're stuck at 9. So let's take a look at the rest of the history. Were there any games that happened where something truly historic took place? Meaningful game number 10. Homer's second no-hitter in 2013. His first hitter takes place in Pittsburgh the previous September, so that one's taken out of consideration. Homer's no-no is number 10. That's it. Now you're asking, hey, what about Ken Griffey Jr.? Surely he must have done something historic, had a milestone day at Great American Ballpark. No, his 500th home run took place in St. Louis. His 600th home run took place in Miami in front of friends and family. With Homer's no-no being the last one on our list, that's it. There are only 10 meaningful games played in the history of Great American Ballpark.
Are you going to abandon being a Reds fan? Are you going to abandon following this team?
Are there any meaningful games played at Great American Ballpark that I've overlooked? Then please let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am Michael Dennis. This is The Michael Dennis Show. Stay